I didn't like him anyway. He wasn't right in the hat.
I have made fire! I have made fire!
When they opened Disneyland in 1956, nothing worked.
Yeah, but John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Well, what if there is no tomorrow? There wasn't one today.
You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling.
Don't any of you have the guts to play for blood?
I'm your huckleberry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Oh, great Odin's raven.
What are you looking at, butthead?
I didn't want salmon. I said it 4 times.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle.
Bye-bye.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I'm Lucky Day. I'm Ned Needlelander. I'm Dusty Bottoms. So together we're the Three Amigos.
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
1.21 gigawatts.
1.21 gigawatts.
My God. What the hell?
Hey guys, welcome in and thanks for joining us for the first episode of our show, Whiskey Flix. For this episode, my brothers and I are going to be discussing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt take on Quentin Tarantino's 9th feature film. And to make sure we give you our clearest and truest thoughts, we'll be sipping on some great bourbon throughout the show, Elijah Craig. So we sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy. Cheers. That I actually watched this 2 days ago with the bottle of Elijah Craig. And yeah, and I got to tell you, I wrote down that that the colors were the most vibrant they've ever been. That this is the 3rd time I've watched it. The colors were the most vibrant they've ever been. I wrote down that the dialogue.
Were you drinking acid-laced bourbon?
He just really got into the whole.
Oh, it was
60s, 70s
I was like,
vibe.
oh, this is great. Who did the costumes? This is unbelievable.
I bought the bourbon on the side of the road. It was laced with acid. Greatest.
But anyway, as I was saying, I also wrote down that the dialogue was unbelievable and that there was not one ugly person in the entire movie. This is why I think that Elijah Craig makes movies better, because it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. But seriously though, I was going to say this. We just like to watch movies. I'm not obviously a film scholar or anything. And I know there's stuff that I'm missing with scenes and stuff. And I wrote down a couple of things that maybe you guys saw and we could talk about. But it was really hard for me to find anything wrong with this movie. I've seen it 3 times, and it didn't go slow for me. It was a long movie. It didn't run slow. I mean, yeah. I thought the acting was great. I thought the casting was great. I thought the idea of the story was amazing. It was just super good, dude. Really good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think again, like you just said, the cast is absolutely ridiculous. I think Emile Hirsch is Jay Sebring, and he has like, you know, that end scene and like
that's
that
your boy.
middle scene at the Playboy Mansion, right? I mean, like he's barely in the movie, and it's just like, it's Emile Hirsch, right? Like they just kind of tossed him in, which is ridiculous. It's like, yeah, every actor in this movie is gonna be ridiculous,
right.
Which was really cool. Yeah, and like you said, I think that the pacing of it was. It doesn't play slow at all. It doesn't play like a 2.5, 3 hour movie.
Oh.
It's a super easy watch. The original story is cool. The alternate history aspect of it is awesome.
Okay.
And that's just my initial take on everything. Yeah, 2 hours and 41 minutes. It does not feel like that at all.
At all.
No, I thought it's a super easy watch, and then obviously Leo and Brad Pitt playing off each other the whole time is just ridiculous.
Genius. Initial thoughts?
I didn't like it.
That is awesome.
That's why there's three. That's why there's three.
I didn't. Initial thoughts here. I got notes. Initial thoughts. I have my opening. It never grabbed me. It's like it was close so many times to like getting me in, especially initially. I can go into that more detail. I have a bunch of notes.
Nice.
I didn't feel it ever gelled for me as a entire cohesive movie. I don't know why. I just and the ending was cool, but by the time it got to the ending, I didn't care. I just wanted the movie to be over.
Wow.
And
jeez.
I mean, I got a lot to say. I genuinely lost sleep over this movie last night.
Really?
Oh, wow.
So I watched it last night. So I watched Uncut Gems the same day we hung out. So it was like super fresh in my mind. I didn't want to do that with this because it was a little longer, and I just didn't want to like just have to cram it in. Like I finished Uncut Gems like right before we started talking. So I watched it last night, and honestly, hour 20 minutes in, I had to delete a text to you guys saying, "When does this piece of shit get good?" Because I just wasn't. I think Taylor might have froze. No, he's not. It's fine. But I was like, no, don't send text. Like, just watch it, ride it out. It's gonna be fine. And then by the end, I was like, did I just not like this movie? And I was like, shit, I didn't. And I had to talk myself back to like, I just didn't care for it because when I was done with it, I was like, that was shit. I didn't like it. And I had to like look at my notes and be like, okay, it wasn't crap. I didn't hate it. It just first run just wasn't there.
Holy cow, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in myself for not liking the movie.
I would definitely give it a few weeks and then circle back. I don't know. What was like the main? Was it that it wasn't like a story about the Manson family? What were you expecting going in that didn't?
I wasn't expecting anything. It wasn't. It wasn't that it wasn't about Manson. I think I knew that. Like I hadn't really read any. Like I hadn't read any reviews until again I woke up at like 3 a.m. and being like I'm crazy and started reading reviews. Apparently it's the greatest movie ever. So I kind of knew it wasn't. It wasn't that. I mean, should I go into my notes?
Yeah, go crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Do it.
Yeah, dude. You gotta go.
All right. So let's just. Okay. So can I like minimize this so I can kind of see you guys? All right. So said that. So beginning, I was super pumped. When like that opening scene was cool, and then when it went to the credits, like who's in it, I was like Dakota Fanning, Oliphant. I think
Timothy Oliphant, yeah.
Luke Perry, and then I saw Emile Hirsch. I was like, this is going to be the greatest movie ever. Like I was like, I am ready to go, and then it just never got there. For me, I mean, DiCaprio easily stole the show. Like, for me, like he was great. I loved him.
I agree with that, by the way.
He was the best
with your overall take,
to me. He was the
I
best
agree
part.
with Leo being the best. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And I went the other way.
Thought Brad Pitt?
Yeah, I wrote down a question. I put Pitt as supporting ? I thought he carried the entire movie.
Man, okay. I mean, I can't disagree anymore. Than I'm about to. He was great. He was great. Don't get me wrong. He was great. I'm glad he won because I mean, you both know I love Brad Pitt. Probably a little too much. So the fact that he won is cool. I'm fine with it. He deserves one. Thumbs up. His performance for me was good, but it's not in the top 10 performances for me of his career.
All right.
And I have his filmography up. I looked it over before we started doing this, and it isn't even close to the top 10. Like,
I am staring at IMDb right now.
I did because I knew not even close for me. Again, good performance. Nowhere near. I mean, and we can go into his filmography, and I can list all the movies I think are better later. But and then I looked up who was nominated. Every other nominee had won an Oscar before. I think that had something to do with it. And I feel like, again, getting a little off track, we're not talking about the movie. I feel like it was almost like a Lifetime Achievement Oscar. as opposed to like his genuinely his most Oscar-worthy performance. Is how I felt.
Wow. Damn.
All right, that's a rough. All right, I was kind of.
Yeah, I got a lot of other stuff, but I'm talking a lot, so I'll let.
That's all right. Go nuts, man.
Yeah, no. Well, I think I'm kind of right in the middle. I think between you and Mike, I agree. I think Leo carried it. I think that Leo had the better performance of the two.
Okay.
But
he was amazing, by the way.
Yeah, Leo was awesome. I was cracking up. Leo was great. Although I don't think I'm as against Brad Pitt's character. I thought Cliff Booth was cool as hell.
Wait, I like this character. I'm not against it. I just.
It sounds like
it was good. It was good. Don't tell me. Don't tell me what I am.
Like to the car he drove. I love the car he drove.
Oh, that was one of mine. It was literally a note. I love this car. I can check that off.
That car was badass. I love that scene down in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
One of those openers when he leaves him for the first time.
Stay on that, Taylor. Let me ask you a question because I wrote this down about that. Did you guys notice, and this is what I was talking about not knowing a lot about film and different scenes. Did you guys notice that Pitt and Polanski both drove out the same way?
In terms of the road or how they turned?
The road. The beginning scene, that whole scene. So Brad Pitt takes off and curls out.
Yep.
And then Polanski comes out and curls out as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be a thing? Or are they like, or is that just the way it was? Like, do you think that's something that he put in there on purpose? Like, are they the same person? Is it like a thing? Like, I didn't know if that was supposed to be there for a reason.
Right.
That's a great question. I have no idea. I noticed that.
I
noticed that they both did it the same way. I didn't think any deeper into it after that, though.
Well,
I was just like, yeah, they both took the turn the same way, and I was like, no, okay.
I'm gonna look that up while you're talking, Taylor. Go.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, although knowing Tarantino, you would probably imagine there was something behind it, right?
For sure.
So that's not a bad pickup on your part. But Brad Pitt, that opening, not opening scene, but kind of the first one where he leaves the house, super cool with the car. I like it.
It was awesome.
I do like how he shoots driving scenes, like from the back, seeing the people driving, and then like certain times. I think that's cool. I just think that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Great call. Brandy the dog. Love Brandy the dog. That dog is ridiculous.
I can check that off. I had that. Dog is cool.
Yeah, because dog was awesome. I mean, I don't think that's a dog you just buy and like kind of leave it. Right? You don't want to come home. It's not like that's
Mine's
rather not leave that one a mystery.
Mine's the dog. Do that too. I'll show it to her in a minute. She's a mess.
But I love the dog. I thought it was awesome. And then obviously the ending we can get to later where, she plays a bigger role.
Yeah, for sure.
But overall, I thought Brad Pitt's role was really cool. I liked his whole gopher role, if you will, to Leo's Rick Dalton.
Yep.
Agreed.
I thought it was cool. And obviously, him being his stunt double is obviously hilarious because it's Brad Pitt. Just ridiculous. Like the Bruce Lee fight scene, you're kind of pretty to be a stuntman. And he's like, yeah, I've been told.
That's what yeah. So
just a great line.
What's the best line out of that scene, you think?
Yeah, I think that
out of that scene, that's the best one. My favorite line out of that scene is, "What did you do to my car?" Well, I threw him into it.
Doesn't he call him a little prick or something like that?
Yeah.
Like this little prick into it. Yeah, that was good.
And sticking to the sarcasm, just kind of so we're sticking kind of linear. I know we're kind of bouncing, but the early scene where Leo sits down with Al Pacino, Schwartz, and he's doing the Schwartz. You're right. But I'm drinking. Leo was drinking it.
So now you're Leo. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
But where they cut to him practicing with the flamethrower, and he's going, and he goes, "Anything we can do about that heat?" He's like, "It's a flamethrower."
So good.
Oh man.
How about his line? It's like, what did he say? Anybody order burnt sauerkraut or something?
Yeah.
Burnt sauerkraut, fried sauerkraut, something like that. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
That was true. That was awesome. So yeah, I don't. So when you Taylor, you actually just brought it up too. That line, the line actually made me start thinking about Brad Pitt was when he said, "I'm your gopher," like that whole thing right there. And I started thinking about it, like, what makes a supporting actor at that point? Because to me, Brad Pitt had it looked like more screen time, and it again, I just felt like it was more. The story was more focused on him. I know DiCaprio had those big roles in those scenes that were amazing. But it just felt to me like Pitt carried the whole thing. Or is that just a supporting role? I just never saw, in my mind, I don't remember a supporting role being as big. Like, I just felt like he moved the whole story forward, I thought.
I can say from what little I know is that whatever studio releases it, they can decide where to put or like what they want their actor or whoever to be like up for a nomination.
Okay.
So my thought is maybe they thought he had a better chance in the supporting role, so they decided to do that. Because I mean, Tom Hanks in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood he was supporting actor.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I'm pretty sure they can decide like, I mean, I guess unless it's ridiculously obvious that like like The Revenant for DiCaprio, like can't be like, oh, he's supporting. He supported the scenery. Like, that's not gonna fly.
The Bears, the lead.
Exactly. But I think it's something like this. That's just really good. Bears sitting in the chair at the Oscars, be like, I hope I win.
Yes, I'm gonna lose my mind.
So I think that's.
By the way, that was my best bear.
That was a good bear.
Yeah. I win this.
As soon as bears talk, they'd sound like that.
Yep. Exactly right. Crazy.
No,
Let me tell you something about this little bottle of Elijah Craig. This one doesn't stand a chance.
Is that a pint of Elijah Craig? That's done at the end of this call.
It's a 375. This is a big one.
No, that's adorable. That's adorable. Also smart that he didn't go for the 750 again.
I bought a 1.75 of Jack Daniels that I'm gonna drink when we hang up. So I figured I would just and that's why we record.
Nicely done, sir.
That out.
Right. Yeah, that has to be deleted.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that, so now I don't have to be worried about like thinking something like that's going to stay in if I say something.
Well, you should be worried if I'm
Oh, what? See, I don't like that.
Oh man.
God.
So yeah, I guess you guys are right. I mean, Leo, some of his scenes were just insanely good. That one the obvious one where he goes in the trailer and yells at himself for messing up the line.
Best scene in the film. He beat me.
Oh man, I'm already disagreeing with you guys. Already.
What? No,
that's not the best scene.
I don't want to hear it. You're done.
Best scene is with
him
with the little girl on his lap.
Oh yeah,
that's my second favorite.
That's my favorite scene. That's the best scene in terms of acting.
I can't fault you for that. Can't fault you for that.
Yeah, that one's my favorite one. I have it up here.
That little girl
on
by
YouTube.
Yeah, I got
that. Right? Yeah, she kind of crushed it.
She's good.
She was amazing. I have that too. Okay, you got that. The initial scene between him. Oh, go ahead, Taylor. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, that whole scene where he's calling him Boston, and he gets off the horse, and it comes in, and they say kidnappings, a hanging offense, and then he's like, well, this is a whole lot of little girl, and they can only hang me once.
Right. That's awesome.
It's ridiculous.
That's a great line.
It's just in terms of acting, where I think like you finally saw someone step up and you're just like, geez, like he's crushing it right now, was that scene for me. Kind of like the midway point through, a little bit after halfway. And it's kind of what you signed up for going in. I was pretty pumped about that scene. I've seen it. Like you said, I've seen it all the way through twice, but I've seen up to that scene 3 times now, and each time I watch it, I'm like, Leo's pretty awesome here.
Now that you guys are talking about it and putting that in perspective, like I should have realized, but he was essentially playing 2 roles. Right,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I guess that makes
playing Rick Dalton being like a drunken failure. And then he's also just like, I'm gonna, exactly. He's like, I'm also gonna crush this scene. as someone who's a has-been.
So I guess you're right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I guess just to add a little to that, from the time he gets to the soundstage or to the set, that stretch or all those scenes are by far my favorite part of the movie. From him being hungover as hell in makeup, wardrobe makeup, to the scene with the little girl who killed it, and just like him breaking down, like explaining the book, which is his life. I was like, oh geez. And like I was like, this is awesome. And like to see the little girl be more mature than like this old man.
Yeah.
And then I like the scene outside of the saloon, like where he first meets Oliphant's character. Like he doesn't meet him, but like that back and forth between the other guy, and then Oliphant shoots the guy behind his back. That scene was cool.
Yep.
Anything with him as the cowboy, it was fun. If that was the movie, I would have loved the movie.
That's fair. Yeah, he definitely crushed those roles right there. That was cool. I like that. I was just gonna say, when you brought up the hangover part, the good news was the reason why I drank so much whiskey while I was watching the movie was because I was watching it with Amy as well, and that's always a good time. So at that point of the movie, when he goes in and puts his head in the water, she finally decided to look up from her phone, and she goes, "Oh, he has a headache," and then she looked back down at her phone. And I was like,
"Oh, it's just
over. Look at him."
Just not paying attention at all. It's like, we're not an hour and a half in right
so then she literally, out of the 2 hours and 41 minutes of that movie, if she watched 15, that's huge. And then at the end, she caught the end sequence and looks at me and goes, "Oh, so it's kind of a what if story?" That's why I drank like 3/4 of a bottle of bourbon.
I mean, it makes sense now.
Every time there's a bad question, you just got to drink a little bit more. Right? It's like, oh God, do I really have to answer this? It's like, all right, I'll do it, but I'm not going to be sober while I do it.
Now, to her defense, but not really, she would have probably watched more, but there was a point about an hour in where she decided to look up and start watching, but then she had to catch up.
Right.
That's
the worst. That's the worst.
See, that's
right?
not. Yeah.
You're either on board from the beginning
exactly.
or you're not doing it now.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
That's a rule.
Yeah, that's an easy one. That's a day rule.
Oh yeah.
All right. So
especially
now
a Tarantino movie. What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to know what the hell's going on. I watched it first time. I didn't know what was going on.
All right, hold on. To get back to it. Just
on the rails.
A couple more scenes. Just a couple more scenes I want to touch upon. The Fix-It scene where he's at Spawn Ranch. This is a Brad Pitt thing. That awesome. Scene's great.
So good.
What part exactly? The whole thing? Because I liked the whole thing. But were you saying what he was talking to?
I liked the whole thing, but I'm specifically referring to the ending where he comes back and there's a knife in the tire and the hippie's sitting on the fence. Yeah, and he punches him in the face. I always think it's, again, 3 times. I always think on the third punch he's not going to punch him. But then he punches him again.
That's true. It's a good point. The last one was definitely not needed. Like,
no, not at all. He got the point after the second one, but the third one was kind of like, I'm gonna hit you anyway, and I kind of liked it.
If I may interject again about the wife, that was the point where she said, "You should wear more Hawaiian shirts."
What kind of conversations are these? This is the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yep. And I
She's
said,
all over the place.
Yeah. I can wear as many Hawaiian shirts as you want me to. I am never going to look like him. So that's all there is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly.
Maybe every once in a while.
You try on one Hawaiian shirt, and she's like, "Never mind. Let's just stick with the."
And then Mike's like, "I spent $1,000 on Hawaiian shirts. I'm wearing them now. It was our last 1,000. I spent it all."
Yeah, Brad Pitt wearing Hawaiian shirt. Next level, us wearing Hawaiian shirt. It's
exactly right.
It's no good.
That outfit
it's never gonna be good.
That outfit was
It's like, that's a lot of yellow.
Jeans, that champion shirt. I love that champion shirt he had on.
Oh, that's a good shirt.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a
the
good
outfit
shirt.
was great. When I saw it, I was like, why not me?
Exactly right.
Right.
Those
There's
shoes-
so many reasons, though, why not you. I mean, and it's not just you.
I know.
It's
I know.
99.9%.
I got the hair. I got lovely hair, but I got to work on a lot of other stuff.
All right. So sorry.
Oh, hey,
Fix
Taylor,
it
by the
scene.
way, fuck off.
Yes.
How dare you? How dare you talk to me like that? Many things. I don't think that was necessary.
That's right.
There's a few differences. Many is strong.
All right, fair enough.
Thanks.
That was my fault. Sorry. So
How about Margot Robbie?
Getting back to it here. I don't think that even has to be brought up, right?
Besides
I
the fact
mean,
that she's obviously beautiful.
Well, I want to talk about the performance of her.
Right.
Her performance.
okay. Yeah.
I thought it was. Meh.
Lackluster.
She didn't get a lot of screen time.
She didn't have much to do.
She didn't. They didn't have to set up her character because it's Sharon Tate who doesn't know the story, so I get it.
Right.
I just felt like she didn't have enough time on screen to, I don't know, to impress, make it memorable, I guess. And when she was, I was like, okay, I get it. But
She was just a fixture for the story, right? Like she made the story.
Thank you. That's exactly, She was, I agree. That's a good way. That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Like she was there just so that you understood like where,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you have to have a fixture for a story.
Well, again, look, I'm
Right.
totally fine with her being on screen. I think she's great too. I mean, for what little time she's good,
Yeah.
but I mean, I just felt like she could have done more if she was
For sure.
allowed more screen time. But
Yeah, there's not much I can disagree with there, in terms of pretty much anything. Margot Robbie not having a large enough role. However, I feel like the way it was written, though, I guess it was made out to seem like she would have a bigger role in the movie. I guess is like the one shortcoming, but also kind of the way that she was made out to be like that, like free-spirited person, like
Sure.
super go-lucky. Kind of like was building up to like, oh man, there's a real depressing ending coming here, which obviously we all know because it really happened and it's pretty terrible. So I think the whole way they portrayed her character made the ending that much better. Where it didn't end the way you were thinking it was going to end. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I thought it made that end scene with Leo and Emile Hirsch in the driveway, just the fact that they didn't end up getting murdered. I thought that was kind of cool. Would be like the one thing, but again, I can't disagree with you guys that it was kind of played up a little bit more than it should have been. But still, kind of a cool aspect of the writing.
The ending was pretty cool. I thought it was neat. I liked it a lot. I mean, to use words from a wiser person, it was kind of a what-if scenario, which was pretty neat. So,
genius.
Yeah. Yep.
Genius.
How about, did you guys feel the same way with, I was cracking up, I was crying with the scene in the airport when Leo and his wife Francesca are getting off the plane. Brad Pitt's following behind him. I thought Leo looked absolutely ridiculous with that haircut and just like the swagger
and the ascot
through the airport. I thought it was hilarious. I was cracking up just watching him walk through. Absolutely ridiculous.
My first thought was I'm so happy ascots didn't really catch on. Like they're just awful. Like
see, I think they're fun.
They're terrible.
I think I don't know. If they became popular, I might get on board. I'd be okay with that.
Like a scarf tie? I don't like it at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, you like scarves.
Mm-hmm.
Like who doesn't? And I mean, I don't mind ties.
Sure, love a tie every now and then.
I mean, come on, it's pure gold.
Gotta pick a lane.
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's probably better than my argument. All right, you win.
And so just to leapfrog off that, him going out with the margarita in the blender.
Damn it, you took that too from me.
Absolutely genius.
I love that he rips it and then chugs from it. That's great.
Yeah, that's great. Paying paying property taxes up the butt.
He's so drunk and so pissed. It's so good.
He's hammer drunk. He goes out there, and that's another cool scene where he kind of like reduces like the Manson family like down to nothing. Like Tex has like tears in his eyes, almost like it's obviously not on brand for what you think of when you think of the Manson family. I thought that was cool. And then obviously that whole end fight sequence, if you will. I was cracking up when Leo's in the pool singing along to his country music.
Oh yeah, so good.
Sadie, I believe, like comes through the glass just like screaming.
Yep. That was
good. My favorite part was when he breaks out the flamethrower and just torches. I laughed out loud. I was like, "That's fucking funny."
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I love when he explains it to Emile Hirsch. He's like, "Well, and the last one, I torched her ass."
Wait, how about when he talks at that part when he says like, I don't know how the exact words of it, but when he like snickers before he like smirks before he says like, "No, I actually have a flamethrower."
It's funny how JC Ringer, Emile Hirsch, he's like from whatever the McCluskey movie, right?
Yeah. He's like, it's
That was so good. We were watching it. We actually watched it outside because it was like a gorgeous night. So we put the TV out there and watched it. And then I had it on this speaker, and I forgot how loud that last scene is.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
So it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm hammered. She's drinking last word cocktails. She's getting drunk. I got a speaker hanging off the third floor of an apartment complex. People screaming, flamethrowers going. The most ridiculous thing ever. It was so
I wish you recorded that. That would have been funny to see.
That would have been good.
Oh my god.
To sort of circle back to it, but when Brad Pitt finally realizes that he recognizes all of them, it's like, and what was your name? And he's like, I'm the devil. He's like, no, it was something dumber than that.
Something dumber than that. Rex or I don't know.
Tex, that's it.
That's it. And then the dog just goes to town on him.
Man. I mean, how about the brutality of when he just hits that girl in the head with the can? That hurts.
So yeah, you felt that was like the worst part. Surprisingly, like I could do the dog like gnawing on his nuts. I was like, that's fine somehow for me. When he throws the can in her face, and like her scream afterwards,
it was
like,
really
you felt
good.
like you got hit with the can for a second. Not happy at all. That was a real scream.
He just bashed her face around the house for like 2 minutes.
That was my favorite part of that violent scene. Was like I was like, oh man, that must be so awesome. just smashing someone's face. I was like, that's great. And then like he looks at her fine. He's just like, man, just like throws her away.
Yeah, right.
But it's like clearly that she has no face anymore.
So that's good. No.
I mean, so when you saw that, were you not like, that's awesome? That must be ridiculous.
Like a lighter head. You just like.
I thought it was amazing. I liked it a lot.
And I did like when he stomped Tex's face. That was.
Oh yeah.
I didn't see that. I was like,
good finishing blow. That one was bad.
Have you guys seen mostly all of Tarantino's films?
Mostly all of. I haven't seen the Kill Bills.
Oh, they're so good, dude.
Yeah, I've seen the Kill Bills. I think I've seen
Reservoir.
Oh yeah.
Pulp.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Kill Bill. Both of them. That's 4. Once Upon a Time, 5.
Yep. No, wait, by the way, I think Kill Bill counts as 1.
Oh, they did count it as 1?
Because it was supposed. From what I remember when it came out, he was supposed to release it as 1 movie. But it would have been 4 hours, and he thought it would not do well, so he split it up. So I think he counts that as 1.
Okay.
I think.
Cool.
But I know what you're saying. There are 2 movies that you had to see, but whatever.
Hateful Eight.
I haven't seen that one.
Super good.
Yeah.
Super
good.
good.
I love Hateful Eight. And then Django. I love Django.
I haven't seen Django.
Love Inglourious Bastards.
Seen Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, great call.
Jackie Brown. Have you guys seen Jackie Brown?
I have not seen
Jackie Brown.
I think I might have seen it once, but way back, like, so I don't remember. By the way,
So wait,
real quick, sorry, I don't
Yeah.
need to be
No, go for
told
it.
what film he's on at the beginning. Like, I know he's supposed to do 10 films and retire, but like, I don't need to know it's your ninth film.
gotcha.
Like, just make the film. Like, I don't need a running count.
It's a little pretentious. It's a little
It's
pretentious.
ridiculously ridiculous. And no, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
If I were him, I would do it. I would do an intermission, and be like, "Hey, just so you know, this is my ninth film. Fuck you." But I don't need to see it.
That'd be cooler. That'd be cooler.
So now I
It
have
would be cool. Just a
agree with
10-minute
that.
intermission right in between movie, where it's just like the words, "My ninth film."
I
Nothing.
keep that in now, and I have to keep the fact that I was going to actually say that in the beginning sequence of our show. I was going to say it's Quentin Tarantino's 9th feature film.
No, feel free, because I'm
And now-
tired.
Yeah, so now I have to say that and then have you say that. It's going to be awesome. This trailer
Yeah,
is
that's good.
amazing. Go ahead.
Nice. Just real quick. The one last thing I had was Leo. One of my favorite lines was, and I'm gonna butcher it, but when they're all leaving with the paramedics and Brad Pitt's on the stretcher and he goes like, don't worry about Francesca. She's taking enough sleeping pills. She'll be out through Columbus Day. I was dying. I mean, just a great line. Absolutely. It's like, man, have you
Fantastic.
boys come back out here to wake her up.
That was so good.
And I think that all circles back to just like how, not badass, but whatever you want to think about the Manson family, and like just like the fact that it's playing off the whole ending as if like the Mansons were kind of a joke. I like that whole thing that they sort of did with them. They sort of just, it was just ridiculous. They made them seem
awesome.
like kind of irrelevant when they're obviously not irrelevant. So that was fun for me. I thought that was cool, and that line was hilarious.
It was so good.
I like
So-
the whole non-linear.
No, it's fine. But I just a few more things because I wanted to see what you guys thought about it. So Bruce Lee,
Yes.
the guy who plays Bruce Lee.
Yep.
I know there was a bit of controversy from Bruce Lee's daughter saying that, like, you know, Tarantino made him out to be like this arrogant, like, asshole, essentially.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
Far-fetched.
what's that?
Far-fetched.
See, that's the thing. Mike, maybe you know, I don't know much about him. Like, I haven't read a biography on him. I haven't seen anything like, so I don't know. Maybe he was. I don't know. But my point was, the guy who played him, I have heard interviews that Bruce Lee gave. I felt like the guy who played him like nailed the cadence, the delivery, and like how he spoke. I thought it was super
Yeah, he
cool.
did.
I just like
Yeah, he
I
did.
really, it was one of my favorite parts in terms of like performances. I just thought it was cool.
You're correct. He was awesome. He did a great job, and he wasn't there for very long. But yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, and see, that's like talking about Margot Robbie, like how he said like she didn't have a lot of screen time, and like for me it felt like she just didn't have as big of an impact. I felt like his like was very memorable for being on screen for like 5 minutes or whatever it was.
Sure.
I liked it.
Right.
Staying there, how about Kurt Russell?
I liked Kurt Russell. I did.
Yeah.
I didn't like, and I didn't get his random narrating. Like I was just like, why? What are we doing here? Like it's not a narrated movie. Like why are you randomly?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's
that
fair.
I do
I like
agree
I didn't get it. Yeah, I didn't like it. And to that, the Playboy mansion scene, I thought was a throwaway scene. I don't know why it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know why it was there because it was to explain the relationship between Sebring, Tate, and his
Polanski.
Thank you.
Polanski,
Like,
yep.
it was meant to kind of explain that, so I guess the audience understood. But like, I felt that should have been narrated somehow. Just like
Right.
when the three of them were together, just narrate over it. Be done.
Sure.
No,
Yeah, right.
Anything
Why
Playboy-
some random dude do it?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I recognized the actor, and it was fine. But I was like, why are we wasting?
See, I didn't recognize the actor.
Really? From Billions?
Should I have?
Yeah, from
Yeah,
Billions
from-
and Homeland.
Yep.
All
So
No?
and like he was.
right. Yeah, that was the one who I was just like, I'm sure based on the lines he delivered, I should have recognized him, but I didn't.
It was random. Favorite line. We're just gonna rapid fire this so we can talk about it.
Yes.
Favorite line. My booze don't need nobody.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah, and I mean, like Taylor, the lines you brought up, Mike, the lines you brought up, very good.
The acid
But when
cigarette.
he said that, I was like, oh man, that's a fun one.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That was pretty good.
That is so funny, dude. That was really good.
He played the role of an alcoholic spot on. It was really
Oh
good.
yeah, I enjoyed it.
Definitely. And if
that's the
anybody,
trailers. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
if anybody can call out who plays the role of an alcoholic, well, it's us. We definitely have that down.
True.
We know
Yeah.
exactly what's going on.
Obviously,
Between the three of us, yeah, we
And I
got
can't-
at least
and
two
this is-
alcoholics.
you should delete this because I don't want this to be out there. When he's in the trailer and he's like, you couldn't stop at 3 or 4. You had to have 8 whiskey sours. I was like, yeah, been there.
Right.
That's
I was there
good.
while I was watching the movie. Like, do I need 4 beers right now? 4 double IPAs? No, not at all. But I'm gonna.
And that's why, like, when he looks in the mirror, he's like, I will blow your brains out. I am not kidding. Like, I'm like, my God, is this me?
My Monday morning.
Yeah. Is Quentin
The
Tarantino filming me?
the whiskey sour thing is hilarious. That's so funny.
Yeah,
You had to have
yeah,
4
that's
whiskey
pretty good.
sour. You had 8 whiskey sour. You got 4 whiskey sour. So good. Whiskey sour.
That's not bad at all.
Oh man, he was phenomenal. All right, you guys have changed my mind. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I. Those are all the notes I had, at least.
I still got a few more. Sorry. We'll run through these.
Oh, no,
These are simple
Yeah,
ones. His Italian wife is hot. Just want to throw that out there.
True.
Yeah.
That was it. I have nothing else.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, that was an easy
win.
one. I did love the just how it was shot in terms of 1969 Hollywood. I mean, the signs and the signs, the feel of it, the vibe. It felt like, I guess the cinematography, whatever, was like, it made me feel like, it was really 1969.
Yeah,
they nailed it. It was and like, to your point, I know you said this at the beginning, the colors were amazing. Like the lighting, the signs, was really like, everything I saw was like, it's the brightest decade ever. This is great. Like, I wish I lived like. It was amazing. I thought that was cool.
Great job.
Sorry, wait, not to cut you off, but just to comment on it. I loved Brad Pitt's trailer park home behind the drive-in movie theater.
Killer.
Pretty good, right? Like that, and again, like that whole scene. I really like that whole scene from him, from like the "Don't cry in front of the Mexicans" all the way. Where he's getting in the car and he's crying. Great line. Probably my favorite. Probably my favorite Brad Pitt line of the whole movie. That one was funny. And then just the him where it ended at him at home making his mac and cheese and feeding the dog, and he's like, no whining. He's like, I don't want to throw this out, but I will.
Yeah, I will if I have to. Yeah,
so good.
But just that whole scene was so great. Like I really did like that, and again, sort of to go back to the whole looking like the late 60s. That was a pretty good look for the movie.
For sure.
Not favorite lines, but good lines. Towards the end, when Brad Pitt and DiCaprio go to the Mexican restaurant and they run into someone he knows, and the guy says, "This is my girlfriend." DiCaprio goes, "How's your wife?" and Brad Pitt looks at him and is like, DiCaprio's like, "I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm just kidding."
It's been pretty good. So sorry, PJ. You had more lines to go.
No, I know. We're wrapping up real quick. And away we go. Brad Pitt. I just liked before he smoked the cigarette. And away we go, I just liked it. I thought it was.
That was
fitting.
Cool.
I thought it was spot on. The car scene after DiCaprio eviscerates the Manson family and they back up and they're talking about what they're about to do. Which again I didn't like the Sadie when she was like, "Oh, kill the people who made us watch."
Right.
I know it was supposed to be creepy, but to Taylor's point that I guess the whole point was to make the Manson family as a joke, and I guess I didn't catch that. Maybe I just didn't get it. But when she was saying that, I felt it was supposed to be creepy, and it wasn't. I just felt it was silly and dumb. I just didn't ring true. But
I agree, though. I still agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that was kind of a weak scene. I think that whole point of the scene was to
pivot.
And again, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the actress's name. Although I know she's done stuff. But
I recognize her face. I've seen her and stuff, but you're right. I don't know. I didn't look up to see.
Yeah, but she was the woman who left, which obviously really happened in real life. Someone, one of the girls bailed and was like, I'm not doing this.
No, see, no, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Uh-oh.
Didn't she bail or did she not?
No, see, okay, so the one who says to kill the people, that made us learn about whatever, that's Sadie. She stays. The one who left is Kasabian.
Yeah.
But from what I know from watching Manson stuff, she didn't steal the car. She was the lookout. She never killed anyone.
Yeah, right. Okay, you're right.
And that was the point where I never see the twist coming because I'm an idiot. But I knew when she stole the car, I was like, okay, so this is going to be different. Or at least I assumed it was going to be different because she doesn't steal the car.
Right.
According to whatever, the trial, all that. She stays and she sees the murders, but she never participates. And then she turns to evidence and does that.
So you thought going in that they were still going to do what they were supposed to do? Like you made it all the way through and you thought it was going to happen still?
Until that point, yeah, because again, I'm always the last, I never see the twist coming. I'm always like, oh, it was his dad the whole time? I don't know. Literally, I'm the biggest idiot. I will never.
Bruce Willis is dead?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. No, I'm always last of the party. Oh, what? Oh, something happened? Oh, I mean, yeah, I knew it was nothing. No, never. Dumbest person in the world. I never know what's going on.
Sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
No, but that was the point. So it took me until that point where I was like, I think something different going to happen. And then it did. And I was like, okay. Okay, so Ovaltine. I like that they had Ovaltine in the cabinet when he gets dog food at the end. Just thought that was funny.
That was great.
The end commercial with DiCaprio was ridiculous, where he's smoking the red apple cigarette, and then he's like, they cut it, and he's like, the cigarette's shit, and he's like, who chose this picture for the poster? I have a double chin, and just throws it. I was like, oh, that's ridiculous.
That's really funny. So you like some of it? That's good.
No, see, here's the thing: when I take it in scenes or pieces, I feel like I should have loved it. Like I said, it just never came together for me. I don't know.
Fair.
It might be a movie that I see 2 or 3 more times and then I love.
I can get on board for that though. Everything you're saying, I can get on board for because I do like the I like everything about it. I do. I think it's fairly easy watching. Again, not like a 2-hour and 41-minute movie. I
agree with that, by the way.
Simple.
I was not bored.
But everything you're saying, I can get on board with. I love individual parts, and there's also a 15-minute stretch where I'll be like, am I still watching the movie?
Yeah.
No.
And
but
that's
then,
what killed me. It was those stretches.
It's still fun.
Gotcha.
It's the one difference I would take from your reaction to it. I agree with you though.
I think the problem is what PJ brought up a little while ago again about the throwaway scene. I think that in order to build the story, you need to have Margot Robbie, right? So in order to do that, you got to give Margot Robbie some film time. So you give her 2 or 3 scenes that don't really need to be in there, but that's an extra 15, 20 minutes. And then you do something else with somebody else and put that in, and all of a sudden now your movie is almost 3 hours when it could have been 2.
And that's when Amy looks up from her phone and isn't completely sure what's going on, right? I mean, that's not knock against Amy. That's just that's a real thing.
You're absolutely correct.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't just not be, if you haven't seen it, you can't just not be paying attention and be like, I'm going to pay attention now.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
Because she paid attention during that movie scene where Margot Robbie goes and sees the movie. And to her, at that point, that's the whole film. It was all about Margot Robbie herself on the big screen.
Yeah, which doesn't add up.
Yeah. Exactly right. No, but I think that's the problem. I think PJ's right. Like you said, Taylor, you can agree with that because, there are some parts where you're kind of like, now I took away my whole initial thing where I thought I couldn't find anything wrong with the film. Now I can find something wrong with the film, and that's it, for sure. Yeah. It's just the things that had to be done in order to make the film what it was at the end. Yeah. That's the problem, for sure.
Yeah.
Pete, that conversation in the car, but Taylor, that was definitely the pivot conversation, right? That's where you realized, or you should have realized, it was going to be a different ending. You said it's when she ran off with the car, but that point where she was building to kill somebody else, which would be Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, that house, that is kind of where they were like, okay, this is going to veer off.
See, but
yeah,
I think the dialogue, though, still stayed true to going to Melcher's house. Like, they still talked about going to the right house.
Okay.
In the dialogue, I believe. They didn't talk.
Yeah,
they didn't say going to Dalton's house. They still said,
"Have a good day, man." The whole Charles Manson scene would make you think they were still planning on going to the dates.
Okay.
And then even in the car, I felt like they said the correct house in terms of the tragedy that happened. It wasn't so for me. I was still like, so they're still going to do it. And then when she sped off, I was like, all right, so they're not going to do it. So, but I guess I have to watch it again to make sure that they actually.
For me, I thought when they were in the car and that girl brought up that conversation that you were like, whatever, I thought she was saying, let's kill them too. So we're going to do them first. And then go
I
kill.
could totally miss that.
If anything,
That's a great call, man.
That.
Jeez, that could have went right over my head. That's unfortunate.
I flipped once Leo came out with the blender. I was on board.
Okay, that's
they're going to
earlier.
Leo's
Yeah.
house. This isn't happening. Once
So
Leo
I'm still
did
late.
that,
I'm still late to the party. Every time
see,
I'm always the last one there.
I will agree with but I agree with Mike where I thought it's either going to be both or it's just going to be Leo, and then it obviously ended up just being Leo and Brad Pitt. Yeah,
Here's
see,
the
I was there.
So
I was.
I'm 3
I
watches
watched it
in.
sober the first time, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
I did. I saw it in theaters.
First watch. Oh, I didn't see it in theaters. First watch, I had no idea. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a really neat. That's amazing. That's a really good idea for a story. I like that. The second time I watched it, I picked up on the car thing, and the third time I watched it, I stayed with the car thing. I never got to like the margarita part. I didn't even think about like expanding it to the point that as soon as Leo comes in contact with these people, that never happened. Like they were just that house probably wasn't even there. Who lives in a house
exactly.
like, you know what I mean? Like that whole
at
thing.
The end
even
of the driveway, No,
so if you actually take that into consideration, we should have known when Leo sees Roman Polanski pull up for the first time.
Yeah.
Right?
Because that was my whole thing going in was initially I thought
such an idiot.
How are they
I don't see anything.
How are they going to tell this story? And then how are Brad Pitt and Leo going to fit into the story?
Right.
Where what the thought should have been was the story is going to be Brad Pitt and Leo, and how are Sharon Tate, her friends, and the Manson family going to fit into the story? That's the whole thing.
That's it. Yeah.
So I started to. I guess I didn't start to catch on, but I was almost there towards the end, and then really like that whole end scene where Leo comes out with the margarita mix. I was like, they're gonna go for him, and that's where this all comes into play, and it did obviously. And that whole end scene with Sharon Tate, Margot Robbie over the intercom, and Emile Hirsch.
Yeah,
and
that
Leo
was cool.
right there.
That was nice.
I mean, that was a cool scene. That was a cool scene, regardless of how.
That's in the beginning when they first saw Roman Polanski for the first time, where we should have known this is going to be a different story. He actually created the entire story. And that's about the time where Elijah Craig decided to take the wheel from us and drive us around a little bit. So that's going to be the end of our first ever episode of Whiskey Flix. We hope you enjoyed it. Please join us again next week when we discuss Extraction, Chris Hemsworth's new film on Netflix, and we'll be drinking some Eagle Rare Bourbon. Cheers.